What is happening, Internet? Kitwink here, and today is an update on the DCEU rumors that some are actually kind of true. There have been some publications and stars from The Flash trying to do damage control, telling people, wait, hold on! It's not as bad as it sounds! Even though, yes, a new DC cinematic universe is going to be created, and a new Justice League is going to be formed, it's not all that bad, because not everything that Snyder has done is for nothing. But if you want to know what that's about, well, you have to wait till right after this. Now, if you missed last night's very lengthy podcast, which was actually pretty good, it was only about an hour and a half. It's not bad. Usually I ramble on for hours and hours. So this is going to kind of be a bite-sized edition if you guys really don't have time, which is totally fine. So just to bring everybody up to speed. Yesterday, Grace, a industry scooper slash YouTuber and film critic, who is well known with Rotten Tomatoes and things like that, released a nasty scoop on New Year's Day, basically telling everybody, well, Superman and Batman are gone, being replaced by Batgirl and Supergirl, so the sidekicks replacing the real heroes. Then you had a new Justice League being formed, the Snyder Cut being completely ignored, as well as Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League, both of them, Justice League and Snyder Cut, erased from continuity, and them forging a new Earth, which goes along with rumors that I've heard from over a year ago, where basically instead of doing the multiverse, which is something DC's been playing around with since 2018 and 2019 with Infinite Crisis and things like that, in order to one-up Marvel, they would destroy their multiverse with basically Barry merging all the worlds together, just like in the comics, both in Infinite Crisis and leading into Flashpoint, because the multiverse technically got erased in Flashpoint with only a couple Earths surviving in the comics. Earth 2, which was an older, more gritty Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, who ended up dying fighting Darkseid, and then Kara and Helena Wayne ended up going to our Earth, or the main DC Comics, New 52 Earth, had some shenanigans and ended up creating another universe and met up with other Earth 2 characters. And then you had a couple small parallel Earths, like branched off from another reality. But in a sense, the multiverse was gone until after Convergence. And even after Convergence, it was totally, like, not really a thing anymore. So what people are saying, based on things that I heard and other people from a few years back, Barry would be the villain of his own story, not just erase the Snyder Cut, but also kind of merge the multiverse into one, just like those comic book arcs, which would totally alter what Marvel is doing by finally doing their multiverse with the Spider-Man movie that we just saw, some of the stuff on Disney Plus, and the upcoming, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So, in order not to confuse audiences, they would just have everything be, one big continuity or something, So that's where their headcanon was, I guess, So, Ezra today said some interesting things, which he was basically telling people, hang on, the things that you're hearing is not all true. He says, we in no way, shape, or form erasing all the stuff that Zack did. He's basically telling people, you can go back and watch those movies and all this other stuff. They'll always be important to my Flash's journey. But at the same time, he's also trying to run damage control for the leaks and being like, but at the same time, I'm just paraphrasing what he's trying to get at, based on some things. What people are saying is, what he is getting at is, those movies are fine the way they are, but they're not going to be referenced or really brought up anymore after the Flash movie. Which basically would mean they're erasing everything. What's really interesting about all this is the Shazam writer chimed in yesterday as well and was like, oh, so apparently, Shazam is now part of the Justice League in 2022. And he was happy about it. But, I mean, if Shazam's really in the movie, then he would know about it. So you got people going back and forth like, are they confirming or denying that Shazam's in the movie? Or is this all, all the leak bumpkiss? But then you have the Flash News on Twitter saying, this in no way, shape, or form says all the rumors are fake. So then we just come back to what everything is, which is basically no one really knows at this point what's happening. It's very possible the stars of the Flash are doing damage control because they don't want people to give up on the idea of seeing Ezra, movie. But people, general audiences, aren't going to want to see Batman and Superman replaced especially when Henry Cavill trends all the time, Ben Affleck trends all the time, and just the idea of going for the mainstream universe, like the DCEU, with the sidekicks in place of the, bigger, more well-known heroes, is not really going to work well for mainstream audiences or the general audiences. People on Twitter that have liked some of the terrible stunts in DC Comics and Marvel Comics of late would probably eat this stuff up, but they're not really going to go to the theaters anyway. People who've grown up with knowing who Batman and Superman are, not seeing these characters appear in theaters going forward is going to cause a lot of probably dissension and problems that you would think that companies would have learned their lesson with the 2016 Ghostbusters movie. But unfortunately, Warner Brothers hasn't really fallen on their face yet in terms of that fall from grace, which we know Sony fixed that with the Venom movies and then the Ghostbusters Afterlife and, of course, their Spider-Man movie. They're in a much better headspace. They're making profit, and they're actually doing fan service right. Whereas the concern is with this movie that Michael Keaton is going to be mistreated. He's not going to be the icon that a lot of people perceive him as, which is basically 89, 92 Batman, which was a guy who did his best for his city, but also was no joke at all. And then having him work with these new characters and females in the 2022 movie has people concerned, such as myself, where people reference The Last Jedi as an inspiration for this returning character, as well as bring up Matrix Resurrections, which did terrible for the character of Neo. So that is where some of the concern is, just from a news perspective, if people are wondering what's going on. And that's why I had a very lengthy podcast explaining why fans are upset about that, and rightly so, because if I was a director bringing Keaton back, one, I would actually research his movies, might reference some of them for nostalgia, and also have Keaton do some new things other than just sit around in his chair moping about whatever happened to him and being completely disregarded by the new characters and not the type of Batman that audiences want to see come back after 30 years. Especially the whole thing with the Batgirl movie potentially being a Batman Beyond movie without Terry McGinnis, but having Batgirl instead. That was a rumor that was crushed a couple years ago because Discovery said they didn't want to actually go through that when they were in talks to buy Warner Brothers. But it sounds like they're trying to rush that idea, which is not going to sit well with most audiences. And again, just kind of appeal to the minority on Twitter, which do not make up the general audience. They're very loud, they're very vocal, and even though they say they support a lot of these changes, they don't actually go and literally support these movies, and that's why they fail at the box office. Then you have loyal fans that get all upset about this news, and then they talk about boycotts and all this other stuff, and it becomes a big mess. So I know people are trying to get a hold of me and telling me, like, K-Wing, everything is going to be fine because Ezra Miller said this. No, Ezra Miller did damage control to try to tell people, hang on, just see my movie, everything's going to be okay. And again, it would be nice to know what Warner plans on doing with characters like Ben Affleck or Henry Cavill. If Ben Affleck is out, then they need to really calm fans' worries and be like, no, the Keaton that you saw, he's going to do just as much cool stuff as you remember him doing. He's not going to be the joke of our film. We're going to treat him with a lot of respect, like Keaton was my Batman, etc. Like, there's lots of things that they could do to get ahead of the story. And the only thing that they did is have Ezra Miller come by and say, no, the Snyder Cut is still very important. He didn't say it's important going forward. He's just telling people that he will never forget what happened with it. And it's important to his character. But again, you have other publications that are saying, but also at the same time, some of those leaks are really true about, how the movie's going to go because they want to establish a new DC cinematic universe because Cavill and Affleck are out, unfortunately. But even if those guys are really gone, which people really don't want, they would love to have Affleck be the mentor for Batgirl and have both Batman and Batgirl in the same movie rather than a guy who's in his 70s coming back and playing basically a Batman Beyond role and then passing the baton to a new character that people want nothing to do with. Like, it would take time to establish her character, and people want to see Batman and Batgirl. They don't want just Batgirl over Batman, just like they don't want Supergirl over Superman. It sounds like Superman is going to have a bigger presence on the CW, and they don't want to outshine that version of Superman, which is doing very well. So that's why Superman would be kind of out of the cinematic universe. Think of it like a Superman or Bat embargo. And the same thing with Batman. They want Matt Reeves' Batman to be the focus of where Batman is, and then they're just going to have limited Batman stuff where Batgirl will be the focal point. It's a good idea on paper, but like I said, it's not going to work with general audiences. It's going to cause all kinds of confusion, and it's just going to end up being a big mess. I mean, that's my take on it. I'd love to hear what you guys think about that, but that's what the news is. So Grace basically said yesterday that hasn't changed. Batman and Superman are out. New Justice League would be formed. Batman is going to retire after Batgirl. Batgirl will be the new Batman. Female DC Trinity consisting of Supergirl, Batgirl, and Wonder Woman, which may not be Gal Gadot, even though she has a cameo coming up in Shazam 2, which they've already confirmed. And they're trying to make a bigger universe with that. The Batman movie, as Matt Reeves says, is Earth 2, which is not the same Earth as Stargirl, or maybe it is. We don't really know. For Matt Reeves' purposes, they've kind of joked around that the superheroes that you see in the international trailer are comic book characters, fictional in the world of Batman, kind of like trying to appease what Robert Pattinson had said, that he doesn't want to be in a shared universe. He wants his Batman to be standalone, and that, you know, trilogy to revolve around his character and not worry about team-up films, because he doesn't want to do that. Which you can go and find, do your own research. Both Matt Reeves and Pattinson have talked about having their universe be standalone and not connected to the DC cinematic, just like they did with the Joker movie. So we'll see what happens. More leaks are going to be happening as things go forward, because people kind of want to know what's going on. There are a lot of people that are concerned, and rightly so. I don't think that we should dismiss, DC fans complaining about this, because, I mean, they are the majority. They're the ones that are going to go and support this movie. And if there are things that they don't like about it, I mean, we can't fault them for not wanting to see something that is going to basically retcon everything they love about Batman and Superman, you know? Now, if they were bringing in Superman from the CW as a cameo to try to establish him, as a bigger multiverse thing, I think that would appease a lot of people's worries if they can't get Henry Cavill. And the same thing if they could get like another Batman actor like Bale or somebody else to kind of appear and show people that Batman exists in the DC multiverse. But like I said, most likely what's happening is Ezra is going to be the bad guy of his own story. He's going to wipe out the multiverse. It's going to fuse into one Earth, and there'll be some Earths that are spared that they don't know about that will exist in their own continuity, like Matt Reeves' Earth will be fine, CW Earths will be fine, and things like that, and maybe Titans, but everything else is just going to be changed so they can, keep things more centered around their new direction. Whether or not it's going to work out for them, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. We'll see if Discovery hits the reset button, if things get really bad. As currently Flash is in post-production, they still have time to do reshoots if they wanted to add more Henry Cavill or Ben Affleck or whatever. I'm sure they would be willing to do some stuff. But for the most part, we know that Ben Affleck has said, unless he's lying, that Keaton and him share no scenes together. Their Batmen do not interact, which makes a lot of people believe, based on this interview, that basically Affleck and Cavill's world ends up getting erased, which is a part of Flashpoint. Read Flashpoint. That's what this movie is based after. And a new world is created, where basically the characters ended up being younger. In this case, Batman's going to be older, or he's going to be pulled from his universe. We don't really know all the specifics. The trailers probably do sometime in the spring, like another one, or in the summer, before the movie comes out in November. So we'll get to see a little bit more about the film. I just hope that they don't do The Last Jedi to Keaton, because I think that will backfire and blow up in their face. But at the same time, I kind of hope that they do that, because that way they can learn their lesson, and that their fall from grace would be a bigger, rise like the Phoenix to something that the fans actually want to see and that they're going to support. Thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this quick little video. And yeah, that's pretty much all that's going on. So we'll see what other news develops from this. But for the most part, that's it. That's all. Until then, Gothamites, thanks so much for listening. I'll see you guys in the next video. Hopefully with better news to share. All right. God bless and happy gaming. Later, Gothamites.